Jennifer Melton here. Today we're going to look at analyzing some math data. So this is a pre-assessment analysis. The first thing I did was I recorded each student's results on the pre-assessment. There were 6 questions, and every question they get right, I put a check in the box. And then on this column where it says skill needed and group, I record what skills they still need in order to pass the test. And I'll also make notes of what group I would want to put them in. Like this is for all, they need everything for the addition subtraction. So their group will be like them, also need all of those skills for the test. Whereas this person just needed subtracting with thousands, with zeros on the top in the thousands, and adding 3 different numbers. And this person only needed subtracting with zeros on the top. And this student needed subtracting and adding past hundreds and using the algorithm correctly, which tells me that they probably attempted the algorithm but did not do it correctly. So this helps me to really focus on what's missing in their knowledge, what I need to address in their group, and it's kind of leads me right to what I will teach them in their small group. And because they will all need about the same thing in their group, I can focus on one thing at a time. So with this all group, I'll probably start with addition, and then the people in this group adding past zeros with zeros on top, I will focus on using the algorithm correctly and also how to subtract with zeros when you're regrouping. So this is just a way for me to analyze the data of a pre-assessment and then put them in groups. And it even helps me figure out what strategy I need to teach or what skill I need to focus on. I can also use this same kind of technique when I'm doing formative data. I don't necessarily record it like this, but I do look at whatever the formative assessment I'm using and what is still missing, and then I may change groups throughout the unit. So they may start in one group and then change into another group at some point during the unit, depending on how long the unit is and their progress in their small group work. Now this is an example of my math group plans and also my anecdotal notes that I took during that math group. So I started with addition because this unit we start with addition, and the standard is for them to use the algorithm and not just a strategy. And on their pre-assessment, even if they got the addition problem right, I want to make sure that they understand how to use the algorithm. So this group can add fairly well using a strategy of their choice in the hundreds, but needed to go past the thousands and use the algorithm. This group just needed to work on understanding how the algorithm works by using base 10 blocks. So, and then I made notes like the student that starts with a J, he needs to work on going step by step and adding the columns. And these 2 students tried, but maybe were unsuccessful, and this student misadded when they lined up their numbers. So I started with this problem, then I took a step back and made it this problem. So I also record what problems I'm working on, and but sometimes I'll do extra work and only record like the most important things or notes that I need to know what's missing, so the next time I meet with a group, I know exactly where to start. Now this group, they did this problem and they got it all correct. One student misadded one of the problems, so whereas I just showed this problem, I gave them several problems to make sure that they mastered it before I move on the next time I meet with them to probably subtraction using the algorithm. Now this is the same thing. I worked with this group and this group both on the same problem, and these 2 students confused the places where they were at and like lining them up. And if you, as you can see, I keep extra columns in between the days because I want to, if I need to meet with another group, for the instance, I met with a rounding group that was the test prior to this. So I went over the whole test with them, and I had the students listed and what they needed to work on, and I will like try and fit in some time to still work with them on rounding. So, and then the last thing that I want to show you is sometimes I'll meet with a group and they're not there, like these 3 students were at GT that day, so I list that there. If a student's absent, I'll note that there, which is very important when I'm going to a data meeting and talking about a student and what they're struggling with during math group time. And if they're constantly being absent, I can say, well, this week I had planned to meet with them 3 times, but they were only there one day, things like that. I'll also note when I do things together versus when they do things on their own. So I showed this and they didn't know when to regroup. So that'll be something I focus on the next time when I meet with this group is looking at an individual number and deciding if I need to regroup for that place or not. So that was a little about how I analyze math data. So that is how I take data from a pre-assessment or formative assessment and look at what a student needs and group them, and then how I plan for those groups. And it changes obviously throughout a unit and also when I start a new unit. But keep in mind the other resources that are listed under math are used very similarly, but they might not be small group, they might be individual conferences or different ways to schedule out the groups. I hope that was helpful.